One. Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Fort Wayne Community School Board of Trustees. We begin each meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And roll call of members.
Good evening, Steve Corona from the 5th District.
Glenna Yale, 2nd District.
Tom Smith, 3rd District.
Maria Norman, Member at Large.
Ann Duff, Member at Large.
Jordan Lebemoff, the 4th District.
And I'm Julie Hollingsworth, elected from District 1. And to my far left is Janet Doherty, the clerk of the board. Good evening. And next to her, our superintendent, Dr. Wendy Robinson. Good evening. Sporting some new specs. Hey. I like them. Very preppy.
Thank you. I can see.
So we begin with awards and recognitions. It's recommended that the board recognize Kikianga Middle School students for placing 4th in the American Radio Relay League, their school club roundup this last fall, 2018. This is a new one, so I'm kind of interested in hearing a little bit more about this. The School Club Roundup Amateur Radio Contest is sponsored by the American Radio Relay League, its Hudson Division Education Task Force, and the Long Island Mobile Amateur Radio Club to foster contacts with and among school radio clubs in the middle or junior high category. Kikianga placed 4th in the nation among the 11 middle schools who competed. This is the first year for the Kikianga Extracurricular Club. The club meets weekly after school, where they learn about radio contesting, emergency communications, the importance of emergency preparedness, and how academic content areas are applicable to amateur radio, electronic theory, and practical life. So please come forward as your name is read so that we may congratulate you. Gabriella Carrillo. Isaac Cordes. Cole Malt. Jude Radicek. Fufu Sohn. William Stroud. And their teachers are John Lucky, Russ Nichols, and Kikianga Principal Matt Sheevel. So squeeze in there, and anyone who wants to take a picture, feel free to stand up and do so.
Get in the owls if you need a good spot. Okay, who's talking?
So either John or Russ, would you like to?
Students, come with us
There's the microphone over there.
in the picture too.
I'm kind of interested about this.
Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Robinson. My name's John Lucky. I have faithfully served this district at Kikianga for 21 years as a computer and business teacher, related arts coordinator, and technology coordinator as well.
Other duties as assigned.
Yeah. I've even done parking lot duties.
Yes,
so
you
yeah.
have. Who hasn't?
I have been an amateur radio operator since I was 15 years old. and it was time to bring it to Kikianga. Many things have been learned in my own life, and I've tried to bring it into the classroom as well, from not only business, but science and engineering, physics, mathematics, and to try to find an applied way that makes it applicable to students in their own lives. I think this district has done a really good job in making that the point of education, finding real applicable ways for our kids to learn, because they can learn with the best of them. We are the best of them. The amateur radio club, really mostly sixth graders with the exception of Jude, which is exciting because now I don't have to start over every year. I have a base, and then they become the teachers for my next year's sixth graders. The club is staff members and students, so anyone that is willing to participate may. The contest was 24 hours in length. We competed about 18 of those 24 hours over an entire week. If you know anything about sunspot activity right now, it's very, very low, and HF Communications relies greatly on sunspot activities. And as I was talking to other station trustees from really around the world, it was a hard contest, very hard. We fought for every single QSO. Everyone was it was hard to listen.
What's a QSO?
QSO is a contact, sorry. QSO comes back from the old radio Morse code days of 3-digit characters that mean different things. We're here to be a community liaison for our school, to know that if we were to have an emergency crisis, we would be able to spring into action with emergency communications, regardless of what that might mean, what type of emergency traffic that we would have to be able to give either to first responders or to security personnel. A good example of that actually is the recent hurricane in Florida. Cell phone towers were completely knocked out. The wildfires in California, cell phone towers were knocked out, and the only communication left was amateur radio. So what I'm hoping to pass on to these kids, several of them do plan on becoming licensed operators coming this spring when we do have a testing session. We're going to hopefully bring in examiners to the school to actually administer the tests there. But it really is a great joy, because I think we fit a niche in our school population that maybe isn't necessarily sports related, but is something definitely that brings school pride to the building. We would ask that we would have the support of the board. It's sometimes challenging to think outside the box, and when you do things outside the box, it's hard to see what that box still looks like. And we've had some difficulties with antenna installations, being able to make sure that we get what we need. We've had lots of equipment donated. We're still looking for equipment, so if you're listening tonight and you've got amateur radio equipment around, we would love to collect that from you and put it to good use. We have several antennas that we would like to install at the top of the building, but we're having some difficulties getting that done, so any help in that would be greatly appreciated.
Well, you have the chief cheerleader sitting there. I'm sure he will work on your antennas with it. Second, Kathy.
What's the coolest location you talked to someone in?
Jude, go ahead.
We actually found this Boy Scout jamboree in Spain.
Okay, cool.
Great.
That's cool. That's exciting to know that you can contact people, all over the world. Huh,
Was that the furthest location that you reached somebody from? That's awesome.
okay, great. Well, keep it up.
Thank you.
I had
And, yeah,
Thanks.
hopefully we can help you out.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
just a couple of really quick questions. So some of us may be familiar with the terms ham radio or shortwave radio. Is that related to what you do, or is that entirely different?
No, it's just a synonymous term. The term ham, there are several different theories and legends of where that actually comes from, but its full term, it would be amateur radio. It's licensed under Part 97 of the Federal Communications Act. So it's been around a very long time.
And you're transmitting a voice, not Morse code.
Both.
You're doing both.
Yes, and actually, we're training the kids right now on 3 different digital modes. We have another contest. There's 2 contests a year. The first one was in October, which we placed 4th, but the second one is in February. And when looking at the data and looking, still sunspot activity is going to be very low. There are 3 digital modes that the kids want to try to do. Actually, the 3 digital modes I've never even communicated with in my own amateur radio experience. So it's a learning curve for me too, which I think is important because the kids need to see that teachers don't know everything and that we need to learn as well, and to have them be able to see that learning process that I have to go through to try to stay one step ahead of them, which is hard because these kids are sharp. JT's 6.5 is one of the digital modes, and the other one is FT8 and PSK, and they all stand for different things that I won't bore you with. But basically, the idea is that it's sending digital information in very small packets, and then they're able to communicate, and so it's connecting a radio up to a computer. And I think one of the great things about the hobby is the fact that we're communicating with people all over the country, all over the world, and we're not using the internet. Now, there are ways to use the internet with amateur radio, but truly amateur radio in its purest sense does not need to rely on internet communications.
You cited the hurricane in Florida. Now, are emergency personnel, fire and police, equipped with equipment that could receive actually a signal that you would transmit?
Usually that is a county by county and state by state basis. Typically, emergency management departments team with amateur radio clubs, and typically emergency management personnel are also licensed ham, and they would work with that communication aspect. The other real aspect of amateur radio really is a volunteer and service community as well. A lot of marathons, a lot of road races and stuff. A lot of that emergency traffic, or just that communication traffic, parking duty and stuff is allowed under Part 97 of the FCC.
Non-emergency communication, but still important.
Yes. And there was a time that you couldn't order a pizza using amateur radio, but I actually believe the rules have changed to where now you couldn't conduct business over amateur radio. Technically, ordering a pizza is business, but I think actually that rule has changed to where you could order a pizza now using an amateur radio and
Thank goodness.
Yeah, hey. These kids are hungry. They always like.
Could you give us an example of an educational participation, or how you weave in education as a part of
Pythagorean theorem. I was super excited to tell Mr. Schiebel about this because since we were unable to gain permission to put the antennas on the roof, we didn't, you got to have your antennas in the air. They just can't lay on the ground. And the largest structure that we had on the property on Ingle Road is our 40-foot flagpole. And the first thing that I taught the kids about the flagpole was, one, the flags never touch the ground. So we talked about, flag protocol, et cetera, and why that was important. Brought the flags down the flagpole, and we ran the antenna up, and I said, now, how tall is this flagpole? And so I taught the kids how to use Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, to be able to calculate how tall that flagpole was. That is a true application of a academic, can be very abstract thought to a real life application. And while they might not necessarily as 6th graders understand the math of that, when they get to that, and I believe it's close to an 8th grade standard, 7th, 8th grade, depending on the shift now, they're going to remember the flagpole. And whether it clicked now or not, it's going to click when it's touched on in class. And that, I think, is the best example that I have thus far.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Great.
Thank you.
There's a door right behind you. You can slip out that door and hang a right.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay, next we have, it's recommended that the board recognize Jesse Hamlin for placing sixth at the Indiana High School Athletic Association State Cross Country Meet. Jesse is a 4-year varsity cross-country athlete, and his sixth place finish is the best individual placement for a Snyder cross-country runner in Snyder history. Jesse also excels academically, ranking 16th out of 466 in his senior class with a 4.11 GPA. He will be continuing his athletic career at Butler University, running for their cross-country and track programs. So this is not Jesse. I don't think that Chad will not be running cross-country or track at Butler next year. But Chad Hissong, the principal at Snyder, please pass on our congratulations to him.
Wow.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All of our students like that, he's working.
And Brad's not here either? Brad Altavote?
No.
Okay, just mention him,
Practicing on Elwood Drive when I drove past.
Wow.
figures. Yep. Thanks, Chad.
Thank you.
Yes, so I'll mention Brad Altavote is his, Jesse's coach. So next, that brings us to the consent agenda, and these are items that come to us on a recurring basis. They include the approval of the minutes from our last meeting on November 26th, which board members have seen for review. Also, vouchers and payroll approval. Vouchers for the period ending December 10th, and payroll for the period ending November 9th, which board members have also seen. And then the personnel report, which board members have also seen. So do we have a motion and a second for the
I'd move
consent?
approval of the 3 items listed under the consent agenda, Madam Chair.
Second.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Maria. All those in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Dr. Robinson, was there anything on the
Nothing.
personnel report you wanted to highlight?
No, thank you.
Okay. So, next, that brings us, we have no old business, and we have one item on new business, and that is the group health plan renewal. It's recommended that the board renew the administration contract with Anthem, Blue Cross, and Blue Shield, effective January 1, 2019 through December 31st, 2019. Anthem acts as a third-party administrator for the Fort Wayne Community Schools Group Health Plan, providing employees with access to broad-based PPO providers and network discounts. In addition, they manage claims, processing services, and all aspects of the provider network, perform utilization and medical management functions, and provide enrollment support and customer service for our employees. Administrative fees for medical, dental, and vision are increasing 2.7%, or about $36,000. The plan is changing its pharmacy benefit manager to CVS Caremark through RX benefits. The connectivity fee to Anthem for carving out the prescriptions is $457,000. However, the 2019 projected savings and/or rebates received are $1,816,000 for a net savings of $1,359,000. Reinsurance premiums are increasing 14.4%, or about $301,000. Administrative fees and reinsurance premiums are about $3,738,000, or approximately 7.2% of the total expected cost of the health plan, which is $51,579,951. This supports our District Goal 3, operate effectively with integrity and fiscal responsibility. Questions will be addressed by Charles Kamick Jr., our Chief Operations Officer. Do we have a motion and a second?
I move approval for passing this.
Second.
Thanks, Glenna. Thanks, Tom. Any questions?
Charles, I have a couple questions. In the second paragraph, we indicate that in 2019, projected savings/rebates received are approximately 1.8 million. What is meant by projected savings and/or rebates?
There are agreements between carriers and pharmaceutical companies where they rebate certain amounts of money to the providers. Now that we have a new pharmacy manager, those rebates will be coming back to the district.
So to our coffers?
Yes.
Okay.
And do I understand this will not result in an increase in what our employees pay for insurance?
Our premiums were flat for 19, so there will not be
Okay.
an increase.
Very good.
And if you saw the article in the paper last week, that's not the norm right now.
I didn't see the article in the paper. What's the norm?
Yeah, the norm, I think, is 7%
7%?
increase. Yeah, but we're flat.
Yeah, very good.
Great. Remind me again, what percentage of their premium do our employees pay? Is it 20% or?
80/20 of
80/20.
the core plan.
Okay.
So if you're in the buyout plan, it's slightly more, and if
Okay,
and we have, I think, 50/50 now, people who are in the high deductible plan and who are in the other two plans.
okay. Well, that's good news, that our, the premiums for our employees are not going up then. Okay,
It sounds that those changes that we made to the high deductible option have really taken hold.
Yes, we found quite a few employees are using that with the clinics to manage their health care. And also, we have introduced the wellness program, so that's also encouraged people to monitor their health more closely.
And so are our employees healthier? Is our experience better this year?
We have captured more, best way to say this, I would say they are, but I think more significantly, they're just paying closer attention to their health. So when we do the wellness, the health fairs and those things, some things are caught earlier, so they're not as expensive. Some things are caught that may not have been caught at all because they were asymptomatic.
The expenses identified in the memo to us are within what we've estimated?
Yeah.
Our cost for this year? Great.
and you mentioned the health clinics, but you have the same access to the health clinics no matter which plan you're on, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Okay, any other questions? Okay, all those in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, well, that brings us to the close of our meeting. We do not meet again this year. We meet again on January 14th, correct?
Correct.
So the only thing that leaves are member comments. Steve?
Merry Christmas, happy holidays for all of you folks.
Merry Christmas also. I do want to bring up that several of us had the opportunity to take a tour of the GE facility, the Electric Works, and that was a real interesting, insightful tour. They didn't have the heat on, but it was a pretty cold day to be walking around outside, but I was relieved to find out that the portion that we're looking at as occupying and renovating and utilizing for some of our CTE and other programs, depending on how things go in the future, require a whole lot less work than other portions of the facilities. So that was kind of encouraging to see, and it is really a remarkable area It'll be neat to see how it comes along, how it develops.
I just wish everybody a safe and happy holiday.
I don't have any comments, just Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah and Happy Kwanzaa and Happy Holidays. Hope that covers all of them.
I don't have any comments either.
Just happy holidays.
Dr. Robinson?
I don't want to be the Grinch, but school's in session on the 21st. Just wanted to remind parents, we've communicated several
Is that
different
a
ways.
makeup day?
It was a makeup
That was
day.
a-
So school will be in session. My grandkids were not happy, but they'll get over it.
Yeah, they'll get over it. So that means we have 2 weeks, this week and next week, before
Yes, we do.
school's out?
And happy holidays to everybody, too.
Okay.
One of the things that I want to say in advance, our high school people really, there's no rest for the weary. The holiday tournament takes place out at Wayne, and we have several of our high school staff that are there giving up their holidays for the kids. So I
Oh,
want
yeah.
to just appreciate that in advance.
Okay. Just a couple things. I wanted to mention a longtime Fort Wayne Community School employee, Ron Holmes, who
Yes.
taught at Southside. He was a fixture at Southside for 29 years, and I knew he had served in the Marines, but I didn't even know he served for 26 years. It's pretty impressive. But he passed away here recently, and I know there have been a lot of students over the years who have been, students and staff and parents who have been touched by him. And I just wanted to express our sympathies to the Holmes family. Also wanted to thank we were entertained with holiday music before the meeting by the Lane String Orchestra, I guess. I don't know what you call it, is that right? And so, but it's always really cool to see those young people who are learning such really a lifelong skill, I think. And the diversity, too, in the orchestra is really wonderful to see, in that, our foundation is in the constant process of trying to raise money for the Be Instrumental program to put more instruments in the hands of more kids. And it's, programs like that really, they just contribute to the overall educational experience that our students get here in Fort Wayne Community Schools. I also wanted to mention that there was kind of a lot of talk this fall, particularly from some Indiana legislators, about the importance of trying to raise teacher pay in Indiana. Teachers have certainly, I would say, since 2010, definitely lost ground in their pay to inflation. And was it last week there was the organization day for the legislature? Or was that, yeah, that was last week. And so our Speaker of the House, Brian Bosma, said that we need to pump the brakes on raising teacher pay. And then Governor Holcomb indicated that, there's really something that we need to study for 2 years. And for those of us who know the history in Indiana, back in 2011 when we jumped full bore into a voucher program and expanded charters, we did so without any study. And in 2011, the legislature, of course, blew up the teacher salary schedule by saying that that teachers are getting, for those of you who historically don't understand how public teacher pay work, pretty much all across the country, you increased your pay each year you taught. And if you got another year of experience, you got an increase in pay. And if you got a master's degree, you got an increase in pay. If you got a doctoral degree, you got an increase in pay. And that provided two things. you knew you weren't going to get a lot of money when you went into education, but you could plan, and there was a predictability to your pay. You could see, okay, down the road, I know I'm going to be able to buy a house or start a family. And for school districts, it provided financial planning. It was pretty easy, probably, Kathy, to predict from year to year what your total cost was going to be for teacher salaries. But the legislator blew that up and said, oh, no, no, no. What that is really doing is giving teachers a raise not based on performance. So, and they, of course, merit pay would be much better, even though they ignored all the research studies, years and years, that said merit pay doesn't work. One of the things they did was to institute a teacher performance grant. And it was supposed to be, schools or districts would get so much money depending on their graduation rates and their ISEP scores and their, I think they put some growth in there too. And then in 2016, they were shocked that wealthy school districts like Carmel and Hamilton Southeastern, their teachers were getting almost $2,500 a teacher. Some districts, large urban district, might be getting, $40 or zero. What do we get, Kathy?
We got about 400.
About 400 per teacher. And they were just shocked that it worked out that way. So now it's pretty much just, it's not based on performance anymore, although Governor Holcomb says he's going to do away with the whole thing altogether. So this was a problem, teacher shortage, teacher pay, that our legislature and our previous governors have created. And I don't think that I don't think it's going to take them 2 years to study it. And you and I went to the study committee in 2015 where they studied the teacher shortage, didn't we?
What could that do us?
Yeah. How'd that work out? So it's not really rocket science. We need to pay our teachers more. I think luckily, with this month, Fort Wayne Community Schools teachers are doing pretty well. They're going to get their retroactive pay increases. And I'm proud to say that finally, I think it was last year, am I correct, that we did institute, I'll call them step increases, because that's what I'm used to, for teachers who perform at a certain level that year. So we'll see what happens in the legislature. I know that a lot of other states have had teacher strikes, and Indiana is, what was the data from the ISBA, Steve? Indiana is 49th in loss of, we've had the 49th most loss of teacher pay relative to inflation, I think, since 2010.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I think I'm correct about that. So I hope that our legislators can study some of that data. But I hope, I would like to wish all of our staff and teachers and principal and everyone a Merry Christmas, a well-deserved vacation.
Yeah.
And a Happy New Year. Come back, what do they say, tan, rested, and ready for the second half of the year. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. And if anyone wishes to address the board, the microphone.